Hola, ¿qué tal amigos de Apuntes de Rabona? Yo soy Leo Waldman. Estamos aquí esta noche cenando con dos entrenadores de la Academia de Borussia Dortmund en Alemania, Christian Baumgart y Benjamin Galant. Vamos a estar preguntando y hablando un poquito sobre fútbol infantil, fútbol juvenil, el desarrollo de los jóvenes y bueno, también cómo se ve el fútbol desde su perspectiva, cómo funciona el fútbol infantil en Alemania, qué significa ser entrenador en el viejo continente y cómo podemos adaptar algunas de estas ideas para desarrollar mejor el fútbol mexicano desde la base. Vamos a empezar con algunas preguntas sobre fútbol infantil e iremos progresando hacia fútbol juvenil y después hacia las ligas ya a los niños grandes. Christian, very nice to have you here in Mexico. What's the first thing that you notice when you get to a football pitch here in Mexico with the kids?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. I experienced that the children love to play football as much as they do in Germany. They are really into it, if not more passionate, and I really like that about Mexico.
You coach youth level also in Germany, right? In Borussia Dortmund.
Yeah, more child level, but also some youth teams, yes. Because I've been athletic and coordination coach, so I had more teams that I took care of. From the children to the youth teams as well.
Ah, very nice. And what about you, Benjamin? What's your experience in Germany?
My experience in Germany coaching as well a children's team in Borussia Dortmund. Before that, I used to coach a youth team, U16. In a local team on a pretty high performance level.
Okay, very good. So do you enjoy coaching the youth?
I think more thankful coaching the kids because you can see the successes very quickly and the kids are very thankful on every training.
Okay, very good. So for example, when you get to Mexico, let's say you go to a first training, you've been here in Academia Borussia with Toto and Kevin, and what's the first thing that you see?
The first thing I could see were very, very passionate kids, very passionate about football, and it was a pleasure to have the opportunity to coach these kids and work together with them.
Yeah, it's a very passionate game here in Mexico,
Yeah.
right? And what about Germany then?
Well, I'd say the kids are also passionate, but in a different manner. For example, I realized today here on the pitch that in the game at the end of the training session, they were cheering so loud. That is a bit different.
They get excited about goals. Every single goal counts like twice.
Exactly, and we don't have that loud and long goal shout like you have here in Latin America with the goal.
Yeah, of course. It's the narrator's dream, right?
Yeah.
What I was telling you before, it's like we were speaking about Mexico against Germany in the World Cup, and we experienced an earthquake when Mexico scored, when Chucky Lozano scored. It was an unbelievable moment for the whole country. I mean, we have beaten France in the World Cup, we have tied against Brazil in Brazil, but against Germany, the first game, because at that moment you guys were the world champions. You were the best team in the world. You were probably the candidate to leave the World Cup, and then Chucky Lozano scores, and we were dominating the game, and we were creating chances. So that was an unbelievable game for Mexico. But what is it in Germany? I mean, in Mexico we play the game of our lives against a team like Germany. But what about Germany facing a team? You see it on the schedule, and you see, okay, we play against Mexico, and what comes to your head?
I had a very high opinion of Mexican football before. I used to watch the Mexican national team, I think, from the World Cup '98.
Well, 98 is one of the best teams that we have had in World Cups, and most of those players were in the Mexican League, whereas now, for example, now in this World Cup we had players in Europe, and we had players that maybe they were playing in Mexico, but they had experience in Europe. But in '98 it was a team that was all the players were playing in the National League, so it was probably more passionate about that team, and they also had like the Aztec calendar on the shirt.
Nice.
It's like an epic team, right?
Yeah, I think Jorge Campos was in the
Yeah, Jorge Campos was, and he had a great game against Germany, actually.
Yes, it
Yeah.
was fantastic.
It was unlucky for Mexico.
Yeah, it was very unlucky, and this was the first time I could see this passionate country for football. And in this time, I looked at the schedule and said, "Oh, we have to win against Mexico. Mexico isn't known for good football, but I was wrong."
And for playing well against the top teams, right?
Yes. Especially, I think, against Brazil. Very unlucky. Always playing against Brazil. Always tough, close games. But unfortunately, most of the games Brazil win.
And you perceive that same passion for the game since they are children, right? Since they're 4 or 5 years old, kicking the football and just getting into the pitch, imagining they're Chucky Lozano scoring against Germany in the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. What do you do that as a coach? If you get those kids, and what do we have to do?
I try to take that passion and force them into playing like this, and take all of their motivation and also the motivation from outside, because I have had the experience that the parents also cheer a lot, and
Yeah, they get passionate as well.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, you were here, of course, the pitch of Academia Borussia, but also you were in the Colegio Alemán, right? Where there's also this cultural education, more akin to German values and, of course, the German language, which probably configures your brain in a different manner, and then you have to translate it into a pitch. But what do you perceive? Is it different from the other kids in Mexico?
Well, there are some German kids in this school, but I have the impression that it's not a big difference in my opinion.
They all share the same values,
Yeah,
right? The value
exactly.
for the ball.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
Another thing that I have noticed from the German or German football when they're training the youth is, like, for example, there was this, I think it was Bayer Leverkusen, that adapted a whole football pitch into a playground so that they could develop their most basic skills. While in Mexico, we try to get them to play with one single ball and they don't get as much contact with it. Do you think that makes a difference from such a young age?
Yeah, I think we really especially have to work in that case, because I have the impression that here from early childhood on they play 7 versus 7, 9 against 9, and the goals are big. So what we do in Germany at the moment is we take smaller groups of players. For example, in the sub-9 we play 3 against 3 without goalkeepers, so that all of the children can have a lot of contact with the balls, because we divide the pitch into in more different pitches.
Yeah,
basically
into smaller pitches, right?
Yeah, exactly. And if we play without goalkeepers, also the kids who are not the best on the pitch can score goals and be proud, have an impression of how it is to be successful. So we aim to develop players who have a big self-confidence and create 1-against-1 situations and don't hesitate. Yeah, because we have been lacking this kind of player in Germany in the recent years.
More creative?
Yes.
More resourceful?
What do you mean by resourceful?
Able to solve these kind of situations, right? Able to find them by himself. A player finding a solution by himself inside the pitch.
Yeah, especially in the young age, we don't try to coach too much, so that the players are, or that it is like on PlayStation, we tell the player move left, move right, pass there. They should take their own decisions. Yes, and the German players in the recent years have been really structured, and they knew how to play 4-4-2, how to play 3-2 or
Yeah, of
whatever, but we want to have more creative players from now on.
So when you get in Germany with your group, what's the philosophy? What's the things, the first and second and third things that you want them to think about?
I think the most important thing is that they learn how to decide in different situations. When do I have to go in the one against one and then be confident, like Christian said, to do that thing and to be maybe the game changer. But when it's also very important to pass the ball.
Pass the ball.
Yeah.
Passing.
Yeah.
But what happens when a kid doesn't know how to pass?
Yeah. Then
Do you stop him and get one player on one
Yes.
side and another player on the other side, and do 20 with your right, do 20 with your left, and then we can carry on?
Yes, of course. Especially in the small ages, under 13, we say it's the golden technical learning age.
Yeah.
And I think if you don't have the technical ability in this age, you won't have it in older ages.
But if I may interrupt
Of
here,
course.
I think, of course, sometimes if it's necessary, we do this kind of dry technical exercise, but we also try to put the exercises in small games. So with a provocation rule that there is some rule, you need to pass a lot in this game, and we try to provoke this situation that they need to pass a lot and that they have more fun with it instead of playing the pass from one player to the other, which is also not really a game-like situation.
How do you get a kid to understand the passing is a better choice when he's a good dribbler?
Well, good question.
It's a very good question. I think even with the younger ones, you got to talk about this. You got to tell them, hey, look at your idol, look at Lionel Messi. Is he only dribbling on the field? Is he always dribbling? No, he passes the ball as well, and he passes this in these situations when he has to pass the ball.
But you have to be careful, right? Because if you encourage them to pass so much, you
Yes.
get the pep problem.
Yes,
No?
yes,
You get to the last
exactly.
third, and then you have like an Ozil clear chance to shoot, and you decide to pass, and that's maybe not the best choice.
And
Yes.
not only the Pep problem, but the Germany and Spain problem in the last World Cup.
Yeah.
Of course.
And
Of
this
course.
is why we are searching for a new type of player. Germany was mainly about passing.
It's difficult to get children, especially under the age of 9, that their candy is the goal, right? That their candy is scoring. And how do you teach them the difference between a good decision, that it might be a pass or it might be a shot?
It's, I think, the most difficult thing in coaching, because you're not always right. Maybe the player's right with his decision, but you gotta be self-confident in your coaching and tell the player your opinion, because it's always your opinion when you're coaching something.
Here in Mexico, we have this, one of the problems that we're having at youth level is probably that coaches are interfering in the decision making inside the pitch, right? If a kid is dribbling the ball through the middle, then they have the coach yelling at him, pass to the right or pass to the left, or dribble or carry on with the ball or shoot, and they have the nanny and they have the mother and they have the parent who also think that they're good at football and they know everything, so they have them also, no, turn back or keep going and next time you shoot. So it messes with at least Mexican children's head. And do you have the same problem in Germany?
Yeah, the parents also interfere, but in our club we made clear that it cannot happen, and there the people respect it. But I think on a lower level, parents are shouting really much, and we have this problem as well. But yeah, we also in my job here, I try to tell the parents, please let the coach speak with their children and let them have their own decisions, because that are already two options, and you cannot take more during the game.
Football is about finding solutions to different problems that are presented inside the football pitch.
Sometimes the coaches are the problem. That
Yeah.
The coaches want to do it, like you said, in a PlayStation game. That they want to micromanage their players. No, the player has to do the decision. Yeah, and only if you prepare him on training well, he will do the right decision for you.
Of course.
And we try to encourage our players in our BVB Academy to do exactly this, to be very self-confident.
I wanted to ask you, what if I'm a 9-year-old, 10-year-old Mexican player and I say, I want to play in Germany, I want to play in the Bundesliga. What would you say are the main things that he has to focus on?
In my opinion, I'd say that he should focus on the technical issues, and also we try to play in a offensive manner. So also if he is a defender, which cannot be said at this age, it can change a lot. So he should also not only focus on the tackle, but also on the how to open up the field with passes.
To understand the game better, right? To get a better notion of the game. And what have you noticed about the kids here in Mexico in that sense? What are they missing? What is coaching in Mexico missing?
I think sometimes what we already spoke about, that the coaches say go to the right, go to the left.
The long ball, right?
Yeah, and also
the long ball.
Yeah, thanks. Good thing. Yeah, if the goalkeeper has the ball, the coaches want their kids to play the long ball, and all the team should go after it because it is successful in this young age, because the goals are a bit big for the children.
Of course.
Which leads me back to another question. What would I say to a 9-year-old kid who wants to play in Germany? I would tell him it's all about the mentality. It doesn't matter if you lose. Of course, it's hard for a kid, but it's an important fact. How do you manage your loss?
Did you watch Mexico against Netherlands in the 2014? Do you think that's why we lost? Because we were afraid to lose?
Maybe.
Germany wouldn't have lost that game.
I think the Netherlands didn't have the best team in the World Cup, but they came to the semi-finals. And I think Mexico has a very special team.
And we were winning. We had not clear chances, but we were, I mean, you understand that we were perhaps more comfortable than the Netherlands team. But there came this time at the game. Everyone in Mexico will understand me when I say there was this point of the game that we were getting into a minute where we were saying, if we concede now, it's over. Yeah. I mean, even at winning 1-0, because that first goal from Sneijder, it killed us in the sense that here it comes again, here it comes again.
Right?
Yeah.
This was a term of experience wins against talent, maybe, because Mexico was very talented, but except for Rafael Marquez, they haven't any very experienced player.
Yeah.
And the Netherlands had Wesley Sneijder, they had
Robben,
they had Van Persie, very, very experienced player.
And a guy like Van Gaal, that when he sees blood, he goes like a shark, right?
Yes.
When he saw that Miguel Herrera was hesitant, he just went for it. He just went for the kill. And maybe that's the difference, right? And maybe we can tell to kids that might be watching this and they want to move to Europe, or maybe they want to stay here in Mexico to develop themselves. They cannot play a game when they're winning afraid to lose or afraid to concede. It's just like, how are we gonna, they cannot score against me, right? How are we gonna do it so that they don't score, instead of just thinking, oh, what happens if they score? What happens if we lose?
Yes, I think in the basic it's very important, but I think as well the coach of the team is a factor as well. Especially Jürgen Klopp has this magic to encourage his players, to make him self-confident and make him hungry for the win and not afraid for the lose.
you would say that there's a huge generation of German coaches right now, right? Like very, very good coaches. I mean, barring, Jurgen Klopp apart,
Thomas Tuchel, for example.
Tuchel, Nagelsmann. I mean, these guys are really, really good coaches,
Yeah.
right? Whereas perhaps 10 years ago you didn't have this.
Yeah, I think the Bundesliga opened up for people that haven't been the most successful players. For example, Julian Nagelsmann, he had to cancel his career with 18 years or so.
Of course.
But still, Hoffenheim gave him a chance to develop. Even though he was very young, he hasn't been a successful player. And before they only took Lothar Matthäus or Stefan Effenberg, who were famous players, but they didn't have the feeling for their players and for the tactics. Yeah.
First of all, what do you need? I mean, if you're in Germany, 20, 25 years old, and you think, I'm going to become a coach. How do you do it? What do you have to do?
Well, first of all, you have to get the license. We have different steps of the licenses, like I guess you have here, but you have to take classes, you have to take an exam on the pitch and off the pitch in the classroom.
There's a selection process, right? I mean, or can anyone become a coach?
For the first step of the coach's career, everyone can apply. From there on, if you pass the exam, you need to get a certain grade to get to the next grade. For example, it becomes more important in Germany lately to study sport sciences as well, to have the idea not only in football, but
overall,
what is going on body-wise and
your brain.
yeah, exactly. Which becomes a more important part of the game in recent years, because you don't have much. Yeah, the physical aspect is developed more or less, so you need to get faster in your brain.
But to be a successful coach, it's also very important how I handle my team, how I handle my players, yeah? On the field, but also off the field. You can be a theoretical mastermind, but if you are not, you don't know how your players feeling, how they are thinking, you won't be successful.
If you're going to play Borussia Dortmund, Jurgen Klopp's Borussia Dortmund, you cannot train or have a session 1 week before in which you're going to improve your brain in order to be at the same pace. Do you think the philosophy changed from there in Borussia Dortmund?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Of course, it changed. We have to say it changed with the name of Jurgen Klopp.
Yes.
And before that, Borussia Dortmund was in a very, very poor situation, you can say, financially, but also the way we played wasn't very attractive. And Jurgen Klopp changed very, very much, especially in the philosophy of the club. And yes, the coaches coming after them, and also we in our work try to get his work. For me, the most fascinating scene in the last year was how I think it was Trent Alexander-Arnold make the corner kick.
Precisely.
Because he saw in his eye,
Of course.
eye angle, oh, there's something.
Special moment.
I think there were 3 Liverpool players who all reacted very, very quickly.
Yeah.
And the Barcelona players they weren't even aware of what was happening until they saw the ball going back in the net. And that speaks to you about what Jurgen Klopp is all about.
You can see that his work also developed our youth teams, and everybody in the club. Everybody in the club knew this new philosophy and worked after it, and it's very successful up to these days. I think we made 5 or 6 championships in the.
Of course. Got to a Champions League final.
Yeah, well, but in the youth teams.
But in the
with the youth teams,
We
yeah.
are quite proud because we are the most successful youth team in Germany. Our under 19, our under 17 usually win the national title.
Do you have foreigners in those teams?
Yes, some.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But how come you don't have any Mexicans in the Bundesliga, in none of the teams, let alone Borussia Dortmund? Why do you think this is? We have under 17 teams that are champions of the world, get to the finals. Why would you say we don't have a Mexican Pulisic, so to speak?
I think one of the main parts is that not a lot of people in Germany can speak Spanish, so it would be hard for a Mexican person to communicate. For example, Christian Pulisic, it was more easily for him because people in Germany can speak English.
So another thing you would say to the 9-year-old is learn German or English, right? You have to find a way to communicate.
Yeah, exactly. Communication is very important, obviously, and in the case of Christian Pulisic, it was that his father could work at the club, and you need to have this opportunity to move to another country in this age.
Most of the very, very talented Mexican players in the last years, like Carlos Vela or Giovanni Dos Santos, started their career in Spain.
Yeah, in Europe.
Exception now was Hirving Lozano, who started in PSV Eindhoven.
And the Mexican players that have played in the Bundesliga either came from a national team from the World Cup, like Pablo Pardo, like Osorio, or they had spells in Europe, like Chicharito, who was, well, he was actually a big name. Yeah. What's happening with our teams, with our football in Mexico, that we cannot get teams to the Bundesliga, players to the Bundesliga?
Well, I think, for example, with the success of the under 17 at this World Cup, a lot of scouts in Europe are aware of the players you have here in this generation. And
or do you think it's the style that doesn't fit? Like you know that maybe as a player it's easier, for example, in a Mexican to get into a Spanish context because, of course. We come from half of us come from Spanish, right? Yeah. Whereas we don't have that many players in Italy, or we haven't had. I mean, aside from Hirving Lozano, but do you think there's also this cultural thing that's separating us from getting young players to the Bundesliga because maybe they will not perform as well?
Could be. Good question. I mean, obviously there are some differences in the cultures, and it could be a bit hard for them. Also, just what I realize here, it's so nice with the warm weather, and there's a person from here experiencing the German winter.
Let me throw this concept I read about. It's about Thomas Müller, that he was described, I think the term is a Raumdeuter, that he interprets and reads the space, right? And what would you... I mean, do you think a Mexican or player could be raised and grow into this kind of player?
I think Thomas Müller is a special person with a very special playing style. I think it wasn't taught by a coach. He just developed his own thing, and he's the only one to play like this.
What would you say that style was? What's the meaning in German of Raumdeuter?
German word.
Yeah, it's a German. If you would translate it, he is... and he interprets the space on the pitch. Like he finds spots which other players wouldn't see.
Do you think you can coach that? I mean, he maybe didn't get it from any coach. Maybe he developed into this kind of player on his own. But do you think you can see a young player? I don't think a children because of the age, but maybe a young player and tell him, okay, you're not this good technically. You're not perhaps very good at this, but maybe because of your ability and your intelligence, you can watch this kind of player and develop into this kind of player.
Well, first of all, Thomas Müller has the self-confidence we were speaking about because he doesn't really care. He's not shy because he's not technically, ability-wise as good as other players, but he just does his thing, and but it's hard to coach that in my opinion.
And the coach has to have the ability to see that he is something special. Also, he has the technical ability. Also, he isn't the quickest player on the field, and he's not the most physical player on the field.
Sometimes he looks lazy, right? Sometimes he looks like he's just walking there.
Totally. And this is one of the most criticism on the last World Cup. We have to say Thomas Müller scored on his first World Cup when he turned, I think, 20. He scored 5 times.
In Germany, you have very good goalkeepers at using their feet. No, I mean, not only Neuer, but Ter Stegen. I mean, you have very good goalkeepers using their feet, and that's, I think, one of the things. If you watch your own goalkeeper being so good with his feet, you say, "Oh my God, I have to be better than a goalkeeper with my feet, right?" I mean, he's supposed to be good with his hands, so I have to improve myself in this area.
Yeah, I think they, especially those two, have been training a lot with not only in the goal, but also they played on the pitch, and this is how they develop their abilities. Yeah, it's always nice to have
A goalkeeper.
such goal, yeah, and even more, and you could make the list longer. Like,
Yeah.
we don't have problems with the goalkeepers at all in Germany.
I could make the case that Jorge Campos was one of the first. I mean, I think one of the differences he made in football is that he was good when the rule changed, the back pass rule changed. He was already a goalkeeper and center forward.
Yes.
So he had no trouble receiving a back pass with his foot and playing it. Yeah. And I remember watching him in the stadium. That he was waiting for a cross, and then he brought the cross down, just put the ball in play, and he came out running with the ball up until the halfway. And everyone in the stadium was, "What are you doing? Where are you going?"
Yeah.
And of course he was thinking about, okay, the run of play is coming this way, so everyone has to return, everyone has to chase me. I got the advantage. I can see the run of play onto the other side, and then the defending team thinks, well, who takes the goalkeeper? Right? I mean, whose responsibility is it to take the goalkeeper running at you? And of course, he could see a pass, I mean, from the halfway line, and he would most certainly do it. Imagine you can replicate this at the youth level, right? Like make your goalkeeper, like your 16-year-old goalkeeper, like think not only safe, think how you're gonna start the next attack. What's gonna happen if I receive the ball with my hands, and how am I gonna do it? Where I'm gonna throw it? Who's clear?
Yeah, the new rules we have in children's football in Germany are an advantage for this as well, because we play without a goalkeeper, so all of the children have to play on the pitch before, so they develop their technical abilities, not only with their hands but with their feet from scratch. So I guess we will see this progress in 20 years when the small children are bigger. But some people are afraid that they are not as good as with their hands anymore.
I would also add something very important, that is what you guys are doing here, that bringing people from abroad with this kind of experience, with this kind of baggage. I arrived here and they were still doing the session, and you were still talking to them, and they were watching you like, oh my God, we are training with people that know what they're doing, not only because they watch you as, okay, Borussia Dortmund and German, and of course they do, but also they have this thing that, I mean, I have had groups of kids that they're very difficult to get their attention, but while you were here, they were giving you their full attention. So teaching them what you know, all these little details, and bringing people from abroad that give us different perspectives, I think that would be also very useful.
Yeah, it's a nice exchange for me, not only to tell my opinion, but also get it from the Mexicans. It's a really nice mixture, and yeah, also for the coaches, the same as for the players. Stay hungry and don't be offended by if you get a loss one time.
Thank you very much for opening up with me, with Apuntes de Rabona, with Academia Borussia, with Colegio Alemán, and bringing your experience, bringing everything that you were talking about here. It was very nice to have this talk with you.
Thanks for having us.
And giving us a new perspective as well. It's
exactly.
Like Christian said, it's an exchange. We are not coming here and putting out our knowledge. It's an exchange, and we are getting a lot of new perspectives, and as well a lot of new knowledge for us.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yeah.